to come forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Well, good morning, everyone. Right Honorable Speaker, colleagues, and all the people that have showed up for day 2 of the conference. It's good to be here. Day 2 looks like day 2. This is how day 2 looks like in conferences. So we'll proceed nonetheless. I have a very simple task, which is to present to you the legislative business ahead of us in this 4th session of the 4th Senate, in the next, beginning actually in the next few days, and just to help you appreciate the work that is ahead of us and the focus that is expected from each of us. I'll do a very small presentation, perhaps like 3 to 5 minutes. If there are any questions, I'll just take them briefly. We've been granted 15 minutes. One of which I've already consumed. So let me be quick to conclude on the rest in the next 10 or less, even so that we save on time, because we had anticipated to begin this session at 8, but it was apparent that it was fairly ambitious of us, and we didn't achieve that. So it's a great honor to join all of you, the Senate family, and our guests that have joined us this morning, to evaluate and renew our commitments to serving the people of this great nation through our legislative role and oversight. Without a doubt, your dedication over the past 3 sessions have driven significant progress. Together we have passed extremely important bills and exercised rigorous oversight through our committees and upheld constitutional accountability through impeachment motions that we have passed through. Of course, the most talked about being that of a higher official than all the other 3 Senates have ever handled. This was the first time that we undertook such an assignment, and I think the Senate gave a good account of itself in terms of its processes and enriching the conversation. I'm sure, I know there are conversations going on in the courts whether this or that procedure was followed, but they'll draw a lot of lessons and improve, and that will be our contribution to that process. We cannot afford to rest. We are midway through the term, and there's still a lot of work that we need to do. The theme of this retreat, which is shaping the Senate's legacy, underscores our duty to build a governance framework that will serve future generations. We said yesterday in my opening remarks that it is my utmost call to all of us that we have the dedication of patriots that dreamt about devolution and paid, some of them including with their lives, the highest price to ensure that Kenyans enjoy the fruits of devolution, arguably the best gift that this country has ever bequeathed itself since independence. We, as the custodians of devolution, must prioritize financial stability, because the long and short of all these conversations, everything that we'll say here is, do we have the resources to do that which you want to do? Remember the conversation we had here yesterday about us as a house and the things that we hope to achieve, and why our performance is inhibited. And we could go north, south, east, west, but it all boils down to finances and resources. Do we have the resources? Therefore, we must still continue to speak on the need to ensure that our counties are financially stable, that the resources or the shareable revenue is, number 1, adequate, number 2, predictable, number 3, timely, to ensure that they are able to fulfill their mandate. Those 3 key issues are conversations that we've had over the years in the last 3 terms of the devolution cycle in Kenya. I don't think there's anything that county governments have requested of us as a Senate than to give them that priority, to make sure that 1, it is enough, 2, it is predictable, 3, it comes at the right time, because a dime today is not similar to a coin tomorrow. So our priorities remain to push for a comprehensive review of the PFM framework to eliminate disbursement delays and promote efficiencies. When we had our earlier meeting last year, I think, with the Council of Governors, we had proposed that if this state of lack of adequate predictability to our county governments was to persist, then we may perhaps propose something akin to a devolution bond, so that the national government has a spare pool of resources from which counties can draw from, and as national government continues to collect revenue, it fills it up. However, I'm made to understand, I don't see representation from Treasury. Perhaps we didn't think about it deeply, but I've been following the statements from the Cabinet Secretary, and the Controller of Budget is here. Maybe she'll later confirm in her presentation that now more than ever, counties get their resources actually, or their shareable revenue. Those days of waiting for 3 to 4 months are long gone, and many of them, the last statement I saw from CS Mbadi was that they had been resourced up to December, which is a fairly better situation than what previously used to obtain. In another regard, we have the recommendation of CRA, who are coming up next here to present to us the fourth basis of revenue sharing, which will be extremely critical. You cannot be a senator and not understand the basis upon which Kenya shares resources. If there is a presentation that we need to pay keen attention, and in fact the reason why I'm hurrying my own presentation is so that we get sufficient time early in the morning when we are still fresh and energetic to listen to this presentation on the fourth basis. I don't know if there will be another more solemn duty that we will undertake in our time as a Senate, and this I say drawing from my experiences in the past on all the other the second and the third generation formula, which I had the opportunity to participate in their making, then serving as a member either of Budget and Finance Committee or even just as a senator, because this is work that we must do. And I want to listen to the reasoning of CRA to convince us on the matrices that they have used this time. It will be quite interesting, and I'm looking forward to it. Equally important, we have legislative oversight of transferring functions. We had an extremely important discussion here on costing of functions. I don't see Senator Abbas here, but I know there are a number of members of a devolution committee, including Catherine, and I know how passionate you are about this issue. I really wish you could lead the House in conclusion of this process. It has taken too long, and we cannot continue to be innocent bystanders, just pointing accusing fingers at others. Oh, COG needs to do this, national government needs to do this, ICGRC, or that very difficult name that I sometimes miss, they need to do this or the other. I think our devolution committee needs to take lead and do this, do justice to this exercise. We've talked about it for far too long. And in the presentations yesterday, Governor Sang actually made a very solid point that in the same way, and Controller of Budget is here, and I don't want to preempt debate, that they were able to identify at Controller of Budget level and say funding of bursaries from county government is an overreach on their part, that it is equally possible to establish where the overreach on the executive side is by them funding functions that are county government-led, and we should be able to transfer those resources to county governments if that situation is to obtain. I think the long and short of what he said is that we can let off the bursary if Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Health, and all these other departments that continue to hold on key resources that should otherwise be run by county governments are willing to let go, and everybody will be happy. So, members of the devolution committee, if you happen to remain in that committee, and I don't want to preempt debate also in that space, please do justice to the country. Finally, we have a collaboration and consultation that we have to undertake with the National Assembly, CRA, county assemblies. I'm extremely proud of the work that we have done the last few days, granting financial autonomy to our county assemblies. It's the one thing that I remain extremely proud about. we continue to undermine the authority of our county assemblies by asking them to walk across the street with a begging bowl to the executive and make a request to fund their own programs. And the bill that we passed in the last few days of the last session is extremely important. I'll be calling upon my colleague, the leader of the majority in the National Assembly, and I've spoken to him and their clerk as well, to prioritize this because it means a lot to us as a devolution family. We have legislative summit coming up in the next few weeks, I'm informed. And like I said in my moving that bill, it's one of the resolutions that we passed in 2016 during the inaugural legislative summit. It's almost 10 years now. We have not been able to do it. I don't think it reflects very good on us. So my hope is that by the time we retreat for legislative summit, we will have signed that extremely important piece of legislation that fosters devolution, especially with regards to the legislative arm of devolution. I hope our colleagues that will serve in the oversight committees when we eventually, and I'm quite intentional in my choice of words, when we reconstitute them, will carry out their duty with more zeal, as has been the last few years, and perhaps even do many things that previous committees have not been able to achieve, especially establishing the place. You have this Meru matter, for example, a discussion that has we have engaged ourselves the last few days on very strong debates from both the protagonist and antagonist on this topic, on the place of the elected senator of a county in the oversight responsibilities of that county. Apart from just being invited to CPIC and CPIC, it is my feeling as a senator that I should have more say on eventual findings of the committee, apart from just appearing and trading the kind of things that we trade with the governors when they appear before our oversight committees. There's more that elected senators from that particular county should be able to do, especially in informing the final recommendations, because they know that county particularly better. You know for a fact, and you know Kenyans are Kenyans, and people who serve in our county governments, they're just as much Kenyans as the rest of all of us. And you know the ingenuity of our people. In the first days of devolution, I remember part of the very even basic audit queries that will arise out of our counties is where county government will claim to have built a road from village A to B, then put the expenditure there. Then because many of these auditors, they do their audit out of the county headquarters, further down the list, you'll find the same road but with a different name. It will only take a resident senator who knows his county to point out and say, wait a minute, but this road that you have named B to A is actually the same road up there that you call it A to B. That's just an example of the many things, and the project reports that we receive. Oh, this project is at 98%. It will only take you, Senator Wambua, to point out and say, no, wait a minute, I know this village. This project has not even kicked off. So the place of the elected senator in the reports that come out of our oversight committees is a conversation that we must have as a house and see how we infuse their colleagues. I thank you and appreciate the work that we have done. I look forward to an interesting session as we resume in the fourth session. God bless you. Thank you. I can resume my seat. Or I sit here for...
Just in case of... Thank you very much, Majority Leader. Minority Leader, any comments? If not, I'll